Progressivism. You've heard that word. He's a progressive. Progressivism is defined as supporting or advocating social change or reforms. So where does that leave us? Is it one party that's progressive? Is it one type of person? Or are we all progressive at different times? If you look historically, let's go back to the progressive era, where a lot of progressives were located in the Republican Party. And there were a lot of problems because there was not a lot of regulations. A contemporary problem, let's go with COVID. What are different ways that people have tried to reform society to deal with the COVID problem? One, business regulations, personal discipline, limits on crowds, travel restrictions. But all of these things come with a cause and effect, adverse side effect, next level of problem. Business restrictions sometimes result in loss of money or a slower economy. Self-discipline type things like wearing masks and washing hands regularly and taking temperatures and so forth, sometimes it's just annoying and it's hard to get people to buy in. Limiting crowds. Limiting crowds could be one of the best ways to prevent a sickness from spreading, but think of some of the most important and American things that we do are very crowd-based. Public school, churches, and all kinds of religious gatherings. Sporting events. Losing not just professional sports, which generates a lot of money and a lot of jobs, but even youth sports, youth music, Boy Scouts, etc. All these things are developmental things that have been part of our culture for a long time. Travel restrictions. Travel restrictions is a way that, hey, one area that has a problem can be isolated as they fix it and not spread to other areas. But travel is tricky because people have family in other areas. They work outside of their area sometimes and travel for work. There's a travel industry, so there's more loss of money and loss of jobs because there's a large travel industry in the United States. Last but not least, there's those gray areas. And to be honest, all of them have gray areas. How can you tell him that he can do that, but I can't do what I want to do? So, you're looking at, traveling for this is okay, but traveling for that is not. And sometimes it's hard to draw those lines clearly and get people to accept them. Let's compare that to, once again, in the early 1900s when there was very little regulations on businesses and factories. What protected the worker? To get simple things that protected the worker. Building regulations, hard hats, and simple things like not locking them in a room or chaining them to their machine, fire escapes, etc. Some of these things were really hard sells. Why were simple things like that a hard sell? Why should I have to buy their hard hat or provide a hard hat? They should take care of themselves. All of these things are going to cost me more money. If I spend money on this, it's going to drive the price of this product up and not as many people will be able to access it. All of these problems are results of solving a larger problem. So what do progressives have to do? It's simple. They have to balance the positive effect of what they're solving with the adverse effect, the causal effect of the law or regulation. Ultimately, all leaders at one point or another have to do it. They have to make some progressive move to help some situation. When they're on the right, people who don't like them call them fascist. When they're on the left, people call them communist. But is there anything more essential to leadership than making tough decisions that everybody doesn't understand at the time? So there it is. How would you solve COVID-19? How would you make the workplace more safe? Think about it. Or whatever contemporary problem you can come up with. How could you solve a big problem that is affecting a lot of people without adversely affecting equally as many people? I always like to say the medicine can't be worse than the illness. The cure can't be worse than the illness.